I wasn't supposed to have that locker. Technically, it was assigned to Emma Rivera, a girl who transferred schools after Christmas break. Administration never reissued it, so it just sat there, 3 down from mine, untouched, unnoticed. Until the last week of school. I don't know why I opened it. Maybe it was boredom, maybe curiosity. Maybe it was because someone scratched my name into the metal just above the combination dial. It wasn't fresh. It looked old, etched in with something sharp. I asked around, but no one remembered seeing it before. Not even Mr. Hanley, the janitor, and that man noticed everything. I should have just ignored it. Walked away. Instead, I turned the dial. The lock clicked open like it had been waiting. Inside was a single item, one of those cheap black and white marble notebooks, its corners chewed up, the spine held together with duct tape. Nothing else. No books. No photos. Just the notebook. It even smelled old, like mildew and pencil shavings. The first page was blank. The second had one line. Don't tell anyone. Especially not your mom. My stomach dropped. My locker was just across the hall. I stared at it like it might offer some explanation. The bell rang, end of day. Students swarmed around me, but I felt distant, like the hallway had stretched a few feet wider. I slipped the notebook into my backpack. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the message. Especially not your mom. The phrasing felt weird, specific. Like whoever wrote it knew something. I waited until 2 a.m. before cracking the notebook open again. The entries inside weren't dated. Some looked like a kid's messy handwriting, others were neater, more practiced. They were journal entries. But not from Emma. Not from anyone I knew. Some were about dreams. Recurring ones, where the writer floated above their bed, watching themselves sleep. They described little details, clocks running backward, crayon drawings of stick figures holding hands in front of a blue-roofed house. I dropped the notebook. I had those dreams, too. Same house. Same drawings. I never told anyone, not even my mom. And definitely not about the man outside the window. My chest tightened. I flipped ahead. One entry chilled me to the bone. I think he's still watching. Sometimes I see his shadow near my locker. Not mine, though. Hers. She doesn't know yet. I slammed the notebook shut. The next day, I arrived at school early. I had to look again, confirm I wasn't losing it. But when I got to the locker, it was open. Not empty. Inside was a photograph. A printed Polaroid. Of me. Sleeping. My breath caught. The angle, low, close, like someone was crouching beside my bed. I staggered backward, heart thundering. I didn't remember anyone being in my room. Didn't remember any photos being taken. There was a second line of writing beneath the photo, scribbled in pen. We share dreams for a reason. I ran to the counselor's office. She wasn't in yet. I sat on the floor, hands shaking, notebook clutched to my chest. By lunchtime, I was called to the principal's office. Not for the locker. Not for the notebook. They said my mom had been in a car accident. They said she was in critical condition. My mom survived the accident, but barely. They said she lost control on a straight road in broad daylight. No alcohol, no other driver. Just her car, flipped 3 times and landed upside down in a drainage ditch. She doesn't remember any of it. They let me see her that night. Her head was wrapped, her eyes half-lidded from medication. But the moment she saw me, she reached out, gripping my wrist harder than she should have been able to. Don't open it again, she whispered. I didn't have to ask what it meant. The notebook was in my backpack, zipped up tight. I hadn't told her about it. But she knew. That night I dreamed again. Only it wasn't my room. It looked like a classroom, empty, desks scattered, paper snowflakes hanging half-torn from the ceiling like leftover decorations. And I was floating again, watching myself from above. My body sat at a desk near the window, hands clenched around the notebook. Then someone entered. Not the man this time. It was me. Another version of me, thinner, paler, skin drawn tight over cheekbones, eyes sunken like I hadn't slept in weeks. I looked at the seated version of myself and said, "You opened it too soon." I woke gasping. It wasn't just a nightmare. There was something behind my eyes, like static. I could still feel the weight of that other me stare. The next morning, the notebook was gone. I tore apart my room looking for it. Backpack, closet, under the bed. Nothing. I went to school early, half hoping it had returned to the locker. It had. The door was closed, locked, but I could feel it, like heat radiating from the metal. When I opened it, the notebook was sitting there again. But different now. Heavier. The pages were filled. Every single one. And every entry was mine. Not my handwriting, not exactly, but things I remembered thinking. Things I had only thought. Fears I never spoke aloud. A line on the last page read, "I'm still outside." I snapped the notebook shut and looked around. The hallway was empty. But the air felt thick. Electric. I walked it straight to the principal's office and asked if he knew who had locker number 239. He pulled up a spreadsheet. "There is no locker number 239, he said. I made him come with me. We walked the halls together. Counted the lockers. Mine was number 236. Emma's old one should have been number 239. But it was gone. In its place, a blank section of wall. Fresh paint, still smelling faintly chemical. No scratches. No dial. Nothing. He looked at me like I was losing it. But I could still feel it. The locker was there. Or had been. And the notebook? Still in my backpack. I checked 3 times. I don't remember putting it back in. That night, my mom woke screaming. When I ran into her room, she was curled up, whispering, "Don't let him in. Don't let him back in." I stayed up watching the window. Nothing appeared. But sometimes I thought I could see a face in the reflection of the glass, blurry, low, staring straight at me. School ended that Friday. Summer break came like a fever breaking. Everyone else celebrated. I didn't. I still have the notebook. It won't burn. I tried. Won't rip either, just folds like metal. I keep it wrapped in towels, buried at the bottom of my closet. But I don't sleep well. Some nights, the dreams return. Always the classroom. Always that other me. And sometimes, when I pass that stretch of hallway, I swear I see a scratch in the wall. Faint. Almost gone. But still there. Just one word. Soon. Our school had this ancient PA system, like Cold War era, full of static and that weird delay where you'd hear a click before any sound came through. Most of the time it just played morning announcements, or a teacher reminding someone to come to the office. But on the last day of 10th grade, it did something different. It started just after lunch. Everyone was in the auditorium for the end-of-year assembly. The principal, Ms. Holloway, was up front talking about honor rolls and scholarships when the PA system crackled to life. It drowned her out completely. And it wasn't static. It was a voice. But not hers. It wasn't anyone we recognized. Just a man's voice, low, slow, deliberate. Like someone talking through a thick wall. "All students in room 207, stay seated. Do not move. Do not leave. Do not speak." There was a beat of silence. Everyone looked around, confused. Room 207 was a history classroom. The assembly paused. Ms. Holloway tapped the mic, frowned. "I'm sorry, we're having some. They're already watching." Louder this time. The voice had no emotion, no inflection. But every syllable landed hard. Every speaker in the building vibrated. The auditorium fell into a weird hush. I could hear someone coughing across the room. Then, "Do not make eye contact. Do not acknowledge the door." No one laughed. No one whispered. The voice wasn't a prank. It sounded too real. The mic on stage squealed, then went dead. And then the fire alarm went off. Panic hit like a switch. People stood, shuffled, bolted for the exits. Ms. Holloway tried yelling over the chaos, but no one listened. We all funneled into the halls, the crowd thinning as we neared the main exit. That's when I noticed something. Every classroom door was wide open, except room 207. That door was shut. Completely. A girl next to me, Kelly, whispered, "Did anyone ever go in there today?" I hadn't thought about it, but now I realized no one had seen Mr. Lates or any of his students all day. Their classroom window had the blinds down, lights off. Even now, as the hallway emptied, 207 stayed dark. Someone touched my shoulder. I jumped. It was Mr. Hanley, the janitor. His face was pale, hands trembling. "Come on," he said. "Get outside. Now." I opened my mouth to ask what was happening. And that's when the PA crackled one last time. "Do not look into the window." I looked. Just for a second. There were students inside, sitting at their desks. Every one of them facing forward. Motionless. Their skin looked gray in the low light, their faces expressionless, mouths slightly open, eyes wide. But something was wrong. They weren't blinking. A dark shape stood in the back corner of the room. I couldn't make it out, just a vague figure, taller than the rest. It wasn't moving, but it was watching. I blinked. Looked again. The window was empty. Room 207 was dark. Just dark. Mr. Hanley grabbed my arm and pulled me away. "You didn't see anything," he said, voice low and firm. "Don't say anything. Not to anyone." He ushered me outside. I heard a click behind me. When I turned, the hallway was empty again. And the PA was silent. They never reopened room 207. After the alarm, we all waited outside for nearly an hour. Some students were crying, some laughing too hard, panic disguised as jokes. The fire trucks never came. Neither did the police. Eventually, Ms. Holloway came out, looking pale and shaky, and told us to go home. Summer break started early. No one asked questions? Not then. But I couldn't stop thinking about what I saw. The students inside, frozen, wide-eyed, their mouths slightly parted like they were waiting for something. Like they knew. I told myself it was a trick of the light. A weird moment during a chaotic day. But then, later that night, I found something under my bed that made me stop breathing. It was a Polaroid. Lying face down on the carpet. I don't own a Polaroid camera. The photo showed me, standing in front of room 207, eyes wide, staring through the window. My mouth was slightly open. It hadn't been taken by anyone I knew. I showed it to my parents. They brushed it off. "Maybe a prank," they said. "You kids are always recording things these days." But that photo haunted me. I tucked it away in a drawer. I didn't sleep that night. Over the summer, I asked around. Everyone remembered the announcement. But no one remembered the exact words. Only the feeling it gave them, like a pressure on their chest. Several people said the voice felt familiar but couldn't place it. I went back to the school one afternoon in July. Just to look. Room 207 was sealed. Not just locked. Sealed. The door had been covered with sheet metal, welded along the edges. It looked out of place, shiny, new, like a scar on an old body. And someone had scratched something into it. "He lives in the speaker." I turned and left immediately. When school resumed in the fall, 207 was gone from the map. Officially, there was no room 207. The numbers skipped from 206 to 208. No one talked about it. Teachers changed the subject. Even Mr. Hanley avoided that hallway now. I asked him one morning if he remembered that day. He stared at me for a long time before answering. "All I know," he said, "is there used to be a kid named Ryan Whitaker who sat in the back of that class. Always kept to himself. Smart. Too quiet." I'd never heard the name. "Ryan was the one who set up the PA system after the old tech retired," he said. "Did a whole presentation about it for extra credit. Said he programmed a hidden message to test the signal." Mr. Hanley swallowed. 2 days later, Ryan stopped coming to school. No one saw him again. I asked what happened. He shook his head. They found his backpack under the football bleachers. Nothing else. I asked if he thought Ryan was the voice on the PA. Mr. Hanley didn't answer. That night I had a dream. I was back in the auditorium. Alone. The room was dark, except for the stage. A single microphone stood there, humming. I walked up. My hands moved on their own. I clicked it on. And in my own voice I said, "Room 207, do not move. Do not speak. Do not look at the door." From somewhere far behind me, I heard the click of a lock turning. I turned around. And woke up. In my room. The microphone from the dream was on my desk. Only, it wasn't a dream. It was real. It's still here. I don't remember bringing it home. But sometimes, late at night, I hear static coming from it. And a voice that isn't mine. We never had substitutes at our school. Not really. If a teacher was out, classes got combined or cancelled. But on the last day of 7th grade, Mr. Grillo, our math teacher, called in sick for the first time anyone could remember. And that's when she showed up. She didn't tell us her name. She just wrote, "Ms. K," on the board in thin, jagged letters and told us to sit wherever. Her voice was papery, like she had a sore throat, but her eyes, they were too sharp. Like she wasn't reading the room, she was scanning it. We were too checked out to care. Final bell was 4 hours away. Most of us had returned textbooks and packed up our lockers. I figured it would be a free period. But Ms. K locked the door. No announcement, no explanation. Just stood there after closing it and twisted the bolt with both hands, even though it didn't look like it needed both. The sound echoed. Then she smiled. "All right, class," she said. "Let's begin." We all kind of looked at each other. No one pulled out notebooks. She didn't hand out worksheets. She just walked slowly between the desks, her heels clicking way too loud on the floor. Then she started asking questions. Not math. Not even school stuff. Just things like, "What's the first thing you remember being afraid of? When was the last time you lied to someone's face? Do you ever feel watched at night?" No one answered at first. Then she called on Owen. He froze up. Sharks?" "Wrong," she said without missing a beat. "Your mother. When she fell in the shower. You thought she was dead. You watched her breathe for 20 minutes before getting help." Owen's face went white. "Next," she said and turned to me. I didn't wait for the question. "I don't want to play this game." "Too late," she whispered. Then she reached into her jacket and pulled out a photo. It was of my house. Taken at night. From the edge of the yard. My bedroom light was on. She flipped it over. My name was scrawled on the back in blue ink, messy, like it had been written in a moving car. "What is this?" I asked. But she was already walking away, flipping through more photos. She handed one to Ashley. One to Caleb. One to Marcus. Each one gasped. All the photos were of us. Taken without us knowing. From across streets. Through school windows. Even one from the locker room. Always from behind something, bushes, fences, half-closed blinds. I stood up. "I'm going to the office." Ms. K didn't stop me. She just turned slowly and said, "That's not a door anymore." I grabbed the handle. It didn't move. Not even a little. The metal was cold, too cold, like it had been kept in a freezer. My skin stuck to it for half a second. Then I heard the noise. A soft tapping from outside the classroom window. Rhythmic. Deliberate. Everyone turned. There was nothing there. Just the parking lot and trees. Then a second tap. Harder. Then a third. Closer. And I realized. It wasn't coming from the outside of the glass. It was inside. Behind the blinds. Ms. K folded her hands and smiled. "Let's continue," she said. And the lights went out. When the lights went out, no one screamed. That's the part that still messes with me. No panic. No movement. Like we were all waiting for something. The only sound was the slow creak of the blinds being drawn open, one slat at a time. Light spilled in from the parking lot, but it was weak, pale, like the sun had dimmed. Outside, everything looked frozen. Trees stilled mid-sway. Cars locked in place. No shadows moved. And behind the glass, just inches away, something stood. Not a person. Not quite. It was tall. Thin. Wearing clothes that didn't fit right, like they belonged to someone else. The face was the worst part. Almost human. Like a wax figure left too close to a heat lamp. The smile was wide, unnatural, and it didn't blink. Ms. K didn't seem surprised. She turned to us, perfectly calm, and said, "He's here to collect." That broke the silence. Chairs scraped. Caleb got up and ran to the back of the room, but the windows there were black. Not dark, black. Like tar. No light, no reflection. Ashley was crying. Owen had backed into a corner, arms over his head. I reached for my phone, but the screen was shattered. Not cracked, shattered. Like it had been stomped. I checked the others. Every phone was dead. Crushed. Batteries bulging, screens warped. Ms. K walked to the blackboard and began writing. "Only one can leave." The chalk broke after every word. That's when Marcus snapped. He pushed past her, ran straight to the door, and started banging. "No one's gonna die in here!" he shouted. "This is bullshit!" He kept yelling, fists slamming the metal handle. Then he stopped. He turned slowly. His mouth opened. But he didn't make a sound. He just collapsed. No twitching. No breath. Eyes wide open. Like someone pressed pause. Ms. K stepped over him, unfazed. "Now," she said softly. "Who's ready to confess?" That word, confess, stuck in my brain. And the window thing behind her tilted its head like it agreed. One by one we broke. Ashley whispered that she stole test answers and blamed another girl who got suspended. Owen admitted he used to lock his sister in the closet and laugh when she cried. I said nothing. I didn't trust my voice. But the thing by the window. It moved. Only a few inches, but closer. Hands now pressed flat against the glass. Waiting. Ms. K turned to me. "There's always one," she said. "The one who thinks silence is safety." I stood. My legs felt rubbery. I walked to the front of the room, past Marcus's body, past the fallen chalk, and looked her in the eyes. "I don't remember doing anything. Not the same as innocence," she said. Behind me, the blinds closed again. Darkness. Then the lights flicked back on. Room empty. No Ms. K. No thing in the window. Just the six of us left. And Marcus still on the floor. Only, he was breathing. Slowly. Like waking from a nap. He didn't remember anything. Neither did anyone else. They looked dazed, confused. Only I remembered. When the principal arrived 10 minutes later, I was the only one crying. He said there was no record of any substitute that day. Mr. Grillo, apparently, had been in his classroom the entire time. Said no one ever showed up. Room 3B had been locked all day, he told me. No students assigned. No activity logged. No incident recorded. Except one thing. In the middle of the blackboard. Faint, almost erased. One word. Confessed. We took our yearbook photos on the last day of school. Always have. The administration said it helped keep kids from skipping, gave them a reason to show up. I never cared much about the yearbook, but that year, everyone showed up for pictures. Everyone except Daniel. Daniel Tran had been in our class since 5th grade. Quiet kid. Polite. Never really close with anyone. Not bullied, just peripheral. He vanished the second to last week of school. Rumors flew. Family emergency. Mental health break. One person swore they saw him at the mall, just standing there, not buying anything. But no one could reach him. His phone went straight to voicemail. His Instagram deleted. I didn't think much of it. Until I saw the proofs from picture day. Each student had a thumbnail headshot printed on a contact sheet for approval. I was flipping through mine in homeroom when I noticed something off. The class composite, our group photo taken on the bleachers, had an extra person. Back row far left. Someone I didn't recognize. He looked familiar. But not in a normal way. Like I'd seen his face in a dream once. Pale skin, too pale. Hair that didn't sit right. His expression was the worst part, this vacant half-smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. I checked the labeled list underneath. No name. Just a blank space. I showed my friend Mira. She frowned and zoomed in. Is that Daniel? It wasn't. Not really. But the more I stared, the harder it was to remember what Daniel actually looked like. That afternoon, I went to the yearbook office. Mrs. Heller was there, hunched over her computer, editing layouts. I asked about the class photo. About the extra student. She didn't look up. Just kept typing. There's no one extra, she said. But there is, I insisted. I counted. Sometimes faces look different in group shots, she replied, her voice flat. Angles. Lighting. I walked around her desk to look. She clicked something fast, closed the file. Come back tomorrow, she said. I'm busy. I left. But something itched at the back of my mind. That night, I dug out last year's yearbook. Flipped to our class page. Found Daniel's photo. Then I went online. And that's when I found it. A forum thread. Old. Buried deep in some conspiracy subreddit. Titled, The Bleacher Smile. The first post was from someone claiming their class photo had an unknown face in it. Each reply was eerily similar. Descriptions of an extra person in yearbook photos. Always standing at the edge. Always smiling wrong. They called him the placeholder. The theory was simple and terrifying. When someone was about to disappear, mentally, physically, spiritually, he showed up. Like the universe was balancing the math. I slammed my laptop shut. Checked the composite again. Still there. Still smiling. The next morning, Daniel's desk was gone. Literally gone. Like it had never been there. No one mentioned him. Not a single teacher. Not even our attendance list showed his name. It was like he'd never existed. Except for me. And Mira. I found her in the library after lunch. Told her what I'd read. Showed her the forum post. She said nothing for a long time. Then she whispered, "What if he's already in next year's photo?" That night I had a dream. We were on the bleachers. Smiling. Everyone except one person. He wasn't smiling. He was looking at me. Just me. And he mouthed a single word. Soon. I didn't go to school the next day. I told my parents I was sick. They believed me, mostly because I looked it. Dark circles, clammy hands, stomach twisted with something between fear and nausea. Mira texted me around noon. He's in the halls. I didn't reply. A few minutes later. No one sees him but me. Same smile. Keeps ending up behind me. Then nothing for the rest of the day. That night I called her. She picked up, whispering. I saw my yearbook photo, she said. The individual one. He's behind me. Just a blur. But I know it's him. I wanted to tell her to leave school. To go somewhere public. But I knew it wouldn't help. Whatever this was, it followed rules we didn't understand. The next morning, Mira didn't show up. I sat in homeroom, staring at her empty seat. No one asked where she was. No one seemed to notice it was empty. Her name was gone from the roster. And worst of all, I couldn't remember her face. I knew her voice. Knew the way she doodled stars on her notebook. Knew her laugh. But her face was just gone. Blurred like a smudged photo. That night, I got an email from the yearbook office. An automated message. Final proofs available for download. Click here to approve. I opened the file. There I was, center frame, smiling stiffly in front of the mottled gray backdrop. And behind my shoulder, barely visible. That face. Too pale. Too wrong. The smile was wider this time. My finger hovered over the reject button. But I couldn't click it. The screen started to flicker. My laptop fan whirred louder, as if resisting something. Then the file autosaved. Approved. The next morning, the sky looked wrong. Pale yellow. The air tasted metallic. People walked slower, quieter. Like the whole town was underwater. At school, I passed by the photography wing. The door to the darkroom was ajar. Inside, prints hung from wires. Dozens of them. Every single photo had the same figure. In the corner. At the edge of crowds. Reflected in windows. I was in some of them. Always with him just behind me. In one, he was reaching out. I backed away. Bumped into someone. It was Mrs. Heller. She looked exhausted. He only shows up when someone starts asking, she said. The camera doesn't invite him. You do. I asked who he was. She shook her head. He doesn't replace people. That's what everyone thinks. But he doesn't take you out. He puts something in. In where? She met my eyes. Here, she said, tapping my temple. He's a memory. That night I burned the photo. Watched it curl and blacken. It didn't scream. Didn't move. But when I turned off the lights to sleep, there was a fresh print on my desk. Same picture. Only now, the smile was gone. He was frowning. Looking directly at me. And his hand was no longer reaching. It was resting on my shoulder. I left school before the yearbook release. Transferred out. New district, new state. But every now and then, I check online forums. Subreddits. Message boards. And every so often, someone posts a new thread. There's a guy in my class photo I don't recognize. And I know it started again. There's a hallway in our school no one uses anymore. East wing, past the art rooms, just before the old boiler stairwell. It's not blocked off or anything, just empty. No classes assigned there. No lockers. Lights stay off. Most students don't even realize it exists. I didn't either. Not until the last day of senior year. I had to take a makeup exam for physics. Last period. Everyone else had checked out already. Cap and gown fittings, locker cleanouts, yearbook signings. The building felt hollow. Like it was already starting to forget us. Mr. Caputo let me leave early when I finished. I should have gone straight to the parking lot. Instead, I took a wrong turn. Or maybe it wasn't wrong, maybe it was invited. I walked the east side loop, trying to cut through faster. That's when I saw it, the hallway. No signs. No posters. Just a straight, dim corridor ending in a gray door. And a bell. One of those old brass ones, wired into the ceiling. It started ringing. But it wasn't the same pitch as the normal school bell. It rang low, dull, like a slow heartbeat. And it only rang once. That's what made me stop. Then I noticed the door at the end was slightly ajar. I don't know why I went in. It wasn't curiosity. Not exactly. It felt more like obligation. Inside was a single classroom. Desks, chalkboard, projector cart, everything coated in dust. The kind that settles after years. But the lights flickered on as I entered. Motion activated. Even though the hallway lights were dead. On the board was a name written in faded chalk. Attendance required. No teacher. But there were students. About 20 of them. Sitting upright. Perfectly still. Their backs were to me. I didn't hear them come in. Didn't hear a sound. But they were there, like they'd always been. Something about their stillness made my throat dry. I took a step closer. None turned. None spoke. But I recognized one of them. Row 3C2. A girl named Lily McGrath. She went missing in freshman year. Everyone thought she ran away. Another, back left corner, was Jared Dooley. Expelled in 10th grade. Then vanished. No trace. And another. And another. They were all former students. Gone, forgotten. But now they were here. Sitting in this classroom. Frozen. Then, slowly, the projector buzzed on. The screen dropped down. A single sentence appeared, typed in pale green font. Stay until the bell. I backed away. A soft creak echoed behind me. The door had closed. I didn't hear it latch, but I knew I was locked in. I reached for my phone. Dead. Not low battery. Just black. Like it didn't exist anymore. I turned back to the room. Now every head had turned. 20 pairs of eyes staring at me. Unblinking. Expressionless. Except one. Lily's mouth moved. Not open. Not speech. Just motion. Like she was chewing something. Or repeating a word over and over. I couldn't hear it. But I knew what it was. Stay. I ran to the door. Pounded. Kicked. Nothing. The bell rang again. Still low. Still wrong. And when I turned back, the projector was off. The board was clean. And the seats were empty. I wasn't dreaming. I stood in the middle of a classroom that didn't exist anymore, with dust in my throat and sweat on my palms, trying to convince myself that what just happened wasn't real. That I hadn't just seen 20 missing students fade from existence. But I couldn't move. The door wouldn't budge. My phone was still dead. The windows, which I hadn't noticed before, weren't windows at all, just painted outlines on the wall. I hadn't realized how silent it had gotten. My heartbeat felt too loud. Then the bell rang again. Third time. And everything changed. The desks were gone. The lights turned off. But the projector clicked on once more. The green text returned, only now it said, Attendance, 1 present. 0 excused. A cursor blinked underneath it, waiting. Then letters started to appear. Slowly. Like someone was typing them from another room. Welcome back, Nathan. I hadn't written my name anywhere in that room. The air felt thinner now. I backed into the corner, pressing my spine against the chalkboard. The smell of dust and old paper was thick enough to choke on. I kept blinking, trying to will it away. But the screen kept typing. There's a seat for you. And I looked. Just one desk now. Placed dead center. With my name tag on it. Handwritten neat cursive, like a teacher's. I didn't sit. I closed my eyes and screamed until my throat burned. When I opened them, I wasn't in the classroom anymore. I was back in the hallway. Everything looked normal. The lights were on. The bell was ringing, the real one this time. Kids were filing out of classrooms, laughing, shouting. Graduation robes everywhere. I checked the clock. 3:30 p.m. I should have felt relieved. But I didn't. Because my shoes were still covered in dust. And when I reached into my pocket, the name tag was there. Still warm. At graduation, I saw someone standing at the edge of the football field. Not a student. Not a teacher. Just a figure, arms crossed, staring at the bleachers. No one else seemed to notice. He turned when I looked his way. And I recognized him. Row 3, seat 2. Jared Dooley. Still 16. Same clothes. Same pale eyes. But I was 18 now. He hadn't aged a day. He mouthed something I couldn't hear. But I understood. Attendance is forever. I didn't stay for the diploma walk. I left town that night. Didn't say goodbye. I kept thinking I'd moved on. That the place, the room, the desk, was part of the school, not me. But this morning, 3 years later, I heard a bell. Not from outside. Not from a phone. Just, in my apartment. One dull ring. And on my kitchen table. A name tag. The handwriting still perfect. And a photo, face down. I flipped it over. Me, in the center of a dust-coated classroom, just as I looked in high school. Behind me, rows of seated students. none of them blinking. The screen in the background glowing green. Text blurred. Except for 2 words. Present. Permanent. I don't sleep anymore. Not because I'm scared. But because I know what happens if I dream. I go back. And every time I return to that room, there are more students. And one less empty seat.